Oh, it is. It is a Tuesday episode, post-Christmas, pre-New Year Tuesday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Hope everyone is doing well. I had to wear this shirt today because I just want to remind everyone watching from cold weather cities and cold weather countries that, yeah, I'm in Miami in the winter, and this shirt is almost too hot to wear outside. Welcome, everyone. Make sure if you're watching us live or if you're watching us later on, doesn't matter what time you're watching, be sure to smash the like button. Please smash that like button and subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports Network on YouTube. There is plenty of reason to rejoice for Miami Dolphin fans. It's a 7-game winning streak, and most importantly, feels like a dream. You look at it, I know there's still 2 games left, but just allow me and everyone to enjoy the moment. You look at the playoff standings. Miami's in right now. If the season ended today, Miami would be in the 7th seed after a 7-game winning streak, after a 1-7 start with a 7-game losing streak. The number is 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. What a turnaround this has been for your Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins last night, hope you're up late. I was up late and I was up early. Hello to Marco. Let's go. What up? Hello to David. Load up Tito's Ryan Tannehill song. Oh, you remember that from back in the day when I did the radio show at night. We have to find that. Hello to G.A. Kane fan. You were missed yesterday, G.A. Kane fan. I noted that I didn't see you in the chat, but he's back today. So, Ray, hello. I want to bed. Does that mean you want to go to bed? It's too early to go to bed, man. We have plenty to talk about. Before we get into it, 20-3, Miami Dolphins over the New Orleans Saints to jump from number 11 to number 7 in the AFC. I want to remind all the great people out there that we have an official sports bar here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and that is the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Make the Quarterdeck your spot, guys, to watch every big game, to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge. Great place to watch the Miami Heat tonight. Miami Heat and Washington Wizards, hot tip. You want to check that out at any and all Quarterdeck locations. It's such a great place to knock down some drinks. Whether you want ice-cold beer or you want to enjoy 2-for-1 happy hour, 2-for-1 cocktails all day, every day. It is always happy hour at the Quarterdeck. The seafood is fantastic. The sandwiches and burgers are off the hook. The baby back ribs are so tender. Meat falls off the bone, so flavorful. Oh, you may be asking, where can I find this magical place? Well, find them on the web, and then you can track down the location nearest to you. Visit their website. You can also check their menu when you're on there. QuarterdeckRestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And yeah, we have an official sports book here on Donno Daily. BetUS.com. It's America's favorite sports book, the 3-decade leader. They're in their 27th NFL season. Yes, you can use it in Florida, by the way. Hot tip, BetUS.com is available to Floridians, my friends. It is a full-service sports book. They've got a casino right there on the website. You can play blackjack for real money, all sorts of other card games and table games. And by the way, when you're using the sports book at BetUS, they have live betting on all of it. Bet before the game, bet during the game, and we have the best deal for you. We have the best bonus in the industry. When you sign up at betus.com with our code 5RSN125, that's 5RSN125. Sign up with our show code, and they're going to hook you up with a 125% sign-up bonus. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Brooklyn Rob wants to know. Oh, wait. That was I pulled up the wrong text, but Manny writes in, Dolphins offense only scoring 13 points last night is mush. Did I mush the Dolphins offense? I don't even care, man. All that I see is W's. Brooklyn Rob says, okay, so where are we having the Dolphin watch party with Big John Stud? Make it happen, mush. Well, we're going to make it happen at a Quarterdeck location in the future, and we're actually going to see and hear from Big John Stud. He's going to be joining me today on today's show around 3:40 p.m., and we're also going to bring on Alfredo Arteaga. We're going to have ourselves a little round table to talk some Dolphins. We're also going to talk some Miami Heat on this episode. You know how we flow on Tuesdays. Not flow as in Brian Flores, but you know how we do it on Tuesdays. Brady Hawk is going to join us in about 10 minutes here on Donno Daily. So Miami 20-3 over New Orleans. I make no apologies for the victory. I don't care if Miami's offense only scored 13 points. I don't care if 22 players from the New Orleans Saints were on the COVID list. A W is a W, and the Miami Dolphins have been collecting W's in their back pocket for the past 7 games. I want to throw a huge shout out to the traveling Dolphin fans. I could hear the Dolphin fans on TV. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. That's a tough building to play in, very loud. It's got a roof over it, the Superdome. It's a tough place for visiting fans to get their voices heard. Everyone who flew out there, and I saw the pictures of Dolphin fans lining up down Bourbon Street. I saw the pictures of Dolphin fans in the commercial flights flying out there. All of you who made that trip from South Florida over to the Superdome, you have my respect. I could hear when Duke Johnson had that nice run, the 10-yard pickup, I could hear the Duke chants all the way over here from Miami. It was magnificent. Guys, it is surreal. And I know it's just today. We still have to win Sunday and then the Sunday after that. But considering where we've come from, isn't it just a bit surreal when you see Miami in playoff position right now? They've moved into the 7 seed after a 1-7 start to the season. If you told me 2 months ago we'd be in this position today, playing meaningful games now at the end of December into January, I would have laughed your face off. At 1-7, you told me, Donno, come New Year's Eve week, you guys are going to be in playoff contention, in playoff position. I would have said, you're freaking crazy, man. Jalen Waddle, best player on this Dolphins offense. He catches another 10 balls last night, 92 receiving yards in the game, scored a touchdown. Jalen Waddle now, you talk about historic. The rookie year that the first-round pick from Alabama is having. 5 catches away from tying Anquan Bolden's rookie record. Waddle has 96 catches on the season. Bolden caught 101 as a rookie. Waddle is going to get that record. He's going to get that record against Tennessee. He's got 2 games left. He's going to get that record this weekend against the Titans. And based on how many balls Waddle catches early in games, he might get that record in the first quarter of the Titans game coming up, considering how fast he starts. Now, I can see my guy Manny Chang down below. Manny he's very tribalistic. He's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And anytime he hears me mention the name Jalen Waddle, he's down there cursing at me because he's a Devontae Smith fan. Devontae Smith is awesome, dude. Devontae Smith is awesome. I like Jamar Chase. I like Kyle Pitts a lot. I love Jalen Waddle. They can all be great. It's okay. It's okay for all of them to be great. The most important thing for me heading into this year, with the way the Dolphins maneuvered with the trades that Chris Greer made before this past year's draft, all I was saying was, Chris, do not fuck it up. And I don't think we fucked it up. Like, honestly, listen, maybe the Dolphins couldn't have gone wrong if they had drafted or if they'd stayed in position to draft Kyle Pitts, because they couldn't have drafted him where they ended up after those maneuvers. But honestly, to me, Jalen Waddle, he's exactly what this team needs. He's exactly what Tua Tagovailoa needs, and he is the best player on this offense right now. Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, I believe, are probably the co-best players on this offense right now. The Miami Dolphins, they have made history already with this winning streak. No NFL team has ever had a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak in the same year. It's weird history to make. It goes to show you what a Jekyll and Hyde team the Dolphins have been. Let's hope we keep getting Dr. Jekyll for the next couple of games and Mr. Hyde doesn't show up, because Mr. Hyde was not fun. Miami now are trying to make a second bit of history, and this is the one that really counts, because if they don't finish the job over these final 2 games, I don't know how many people are actually going to remember, hey, do you remember that season where they had the 7-game losing streak and the 7-game winning streak, but then they lost a couple games and didn't make the playoffs? If you don't finish the job, nobody's going to care in the long run. So now what the Dolphins are trying to do here is they are trying to become the first team to ever make the playoffs after a 1-7 start. Now, of course, this probably wouldn't happen if not for the 17th game being added, but still, this is history in the making. So you're telling me that the only franchise that has ever had an undefeated season will now try and become the only franchise to start 1-7 and then wind up in a playoff spot. So everything that I've just said right now, I find to be incredible. I find the run that this team is on to be incredible. It's worth praising. It's worth talking about. It's worth patting ourselves on the back. All Dolphin fans, I believe it's worth being excited about, okay? Now, instead of talking about Miami's incredible turnaround, what are the media focusing on? They're focusing on the negatives. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I know that our esteemed fearless leader, Ethan Skolnick, did a fantastic episode today of the Starting Nine, which he should have called the Starting Noon because it started at noon today, not 9. It is Starting Noon. Ethan Skolnick. Ethan, he gets very triggered by the narratives. Like anytime there's an anti-Miami thing, Heat, Dolphins, even Canes, Ethan Skolnick gets very triggered. I embrace it. Oh, that's a great point by Brooklyn Robin. I saw this. The Dolphins had not won in New Orleans since 1985. Now, again, you beat a New Orleans team that was barely recognizable, but I make no apologies for it. I will still take it. Like that historically is a very tough place to play and a very tough team to beat in that tough place to play, and the Dolphins got it done. And yeah, the media, they're focusing on the negatives here. And here's a negative that I see a lot, okay? Quote, these guys talking about the Dolphins, these guys are frauds. They beat an awful team. Oh, 7-game winning streak. But who are they beating? They're beating teams like the New York Jets. They beat them twice in the streak. They beat the Giants. They're terrible. The Texans. They beat the Saints with 22 players on the COVID list. Frauds is a word we hear a lot. It kind of reminds me of about, a year and a half ago when the Miami Heat were referred to as bubble frauds. Now the Miami Dolphins are being referred to as just plain frauds. Another one. I was watching Get Up this morning. That show, it is what it is, man. You're looking for sports in the morning. It's Get Up or Good Morning Football. I tend to prefer Good Morning Football, but I flip the channel sometimes, okay? I'm watching Get Up this morning, and they ask this question. Are the Miami Dolphins contenders or pretenders? Is the way that they put it. Literally everyone on the panel, when they asked, are the Dolphins contenders or pretenders? Literally everybody on the panel said that they are pretenders. So why are these people so desperate to pick apart and discredit Miami wherever they can? Because the way that I see it, 7-game winning streaks in the NFL, they're incredibly difficult no matter the opposition, no matter who you're playing against. It's not easy to win 7 straight games. Have the Dolphins beaten some really crappy teams along the way? Yes. But did I also, over the weekend, with my own eyes, did I watch the Los Angeles Chargers lose to a really crappy Houston Texans team? Yes. There are no guaranteed victories in this league. No guaranteed victories, okay? So a 7-game winning streak, I make no apologies for that. And the bottom line, guys, don't let all this stuff bother you, these narratives. The NFL is a results-oriented business. Wins, losses, and tiebreakers are what decides who gets into the playoffs. Wins, losses, tiebreakers if you have the same record as other teams. That's what decides whether you're one of the top 7 teams in your conference, not Mike Greenberg and Marcus Spears. Nobody should care what these guys think. And to be honest, okay, when they talk about contenders or pretenders, I don't exactly know what they meant by contenders. Like, are you talking contender for a playoff spot? Because the Dolphins are that. Are you talking contender for the Super Bowl? That's a whole different conversation. Tyrod Taylor, Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco, Cam Newton, PJ Walker, Mike Lennon, Zach Wilson, Ian Book, the quarterbacks during the Dolphins' 7-game winning streak. Giddy up. Giddy up. The Dolphins are finishing these quarterbacks left and right. Now, if you're going to ask me, and yeah, those are some bad quarterbacks that we've beaten, by the way. Some of them used to be good, like Joe Flacco, like 10 years ago, Super Bowl MVP. Cam Newton, league MVP, like 7-8 years ago. So some of these quarterbacks used to be really good. But if you're going to ask me as a Dolphin fan, so I'm a little bit biased, but let me take my bias out of it here for a second. Are the Dolphins contenders or pretenders? Now, if you're talking about contenders for a Super Bowl, no. I'll say they're pretenders, all right? Nobody realistic. Maybe there are some delusional Dolphin fans out there, but nobody who's even halfway realistic thinks that this team can actually get into Super Bowl contention. Like the playoffs, that's one thing. Getting into the playoffs, sneaking in, winning out, being the 7 seed or even the 6 seed, they can still accomplish that. That's one thing. but I know damn well this team is too flawed offensively to make a deep run. Now, I can tell you this, though. Miami's defense, they are not pretenders, okay? They are contenders. And defense is what won you that game last night. Defense is what's won you the majority of the games on this winning streak. It's not to say the offense hasn't played a part, because you need to score touchdowns, even though your defense has scored some of those. You need to pick up first downs. You need to play complementary football. And at times, the Dolphins' offense has been very effective and even very good. But this winning streak has been predicated on defense, okay? They have a contending defense. 8 sacks last night, 2 interceptions yesterday. And you went up against a rookie quarterback getting his first NFL action, and you did your job. You made him look like every bit of a rookie. You confused the living you-know-what out of Ian Book yesterday. Something that was really funny, I was watching Ian Book's post-game presser last night, and he was talking about the pick six, which was his second career NFL throw, second throw of the game. And he said it, and it made me chuckle as a Miami football fan. That's only the second time in my life, he said, that I've thrown a pick six. I remember the first. Do you? Trajan Bandy. That ring a bell? So Ian Book, the former Notre Dame Fighting Irishman, has only thrown 2 pick sixes at any level in his entire life. He threw one against the University of Miami in 2017. He throws one against the Miami Dolphins, courtesy of Nick Needham. Thank you, Mr. Needham, for taking that one to the house. And so, yeah, when Ian Book goes up against Miami-based American football teams, bad things happen to him, good things happen to the opposition. We'll circle back to this Miami Dolphins conversation. We got a lot to get into today. We'll have a roundtable coming up. This is one of my favorite parts of every Tuesday. For as much as I'm praising the Dolphins for what they did last night and what they've done over the course of a 7-game winning streak, I praise the Miami Heat, and I bring on Brady Hawk, the hardest working man at 5reasonsports.com. Brady, we got a game tonight against the Wizards. Let's look back at the win over Orlando first. We did get the Jimmy Butler return. He was aggressive to start out. He's not really his old self yet. I think we'll get back to that soon. But I thought the big story of that Orlando game, and this is the continuing narrative, because we have so many of these undrafted, guys who were summer league standouts, former two-ways who step up. And the latest one was Omer Yurtseven. He gets his first opportunity to start. The guy was massive. 16 points, 15 rebounds. I mean, that was an unbelievable performance. And Brady, we've seen the growth from Omer, right? Because there were times earlier in the year where I thought he looked a little bit lost, a little bit out of his element. And now he looks like a very comfortable NBA big man. So how did he get to this point?
Yeah, he was not forcing things, and I think that was the main thing that we saw early in his time. He was basically one of their only options as a big man, and that is, even crazier tonight, because if you look at this game tonight, if PJ Tucker doesn't play, he is literally the only big on the roster tonight, other than with Udonis Haslem going into the protocols. But just looking at his growth, I think, like I said before, he was going up into that post, and he was getting that little hook shot, and he has great touch. We talk about that all the time, but he was not indecisive about it. He was just going right up into it, and he wasn't just looking around for the kick out. Like, they need a big man that's going to go into that, because if they don't really have another option, as I said before, because you can't survive without Bam and PJ, both of those guys. Jimmy being back helps a lot of that, and we saw what happened, and it was funny because Omer had mentioned after the game that Jimmy told him you could have had 30, and he was like kind of telling him that. I think that just shows how much confidence they have in these young guys. Like, he's telling him, and he said it wasn't like a lot of praise. It was more tweaking the little things. He kept saying, you got to roll faster, because it depends obviously on the ball handler. Maybe a Kyle, you have to roll a little bit slower to kind of wait for the lob possibly. Jimmy, you just got to roll a little bit quicker. So it's him just trying to pick up on those little things. But other than that, 16 and 15, as you mentioned, he was big in that win. And I think, over this next stretch, they're going to need him even more. And he's leveled up his play little by little up to this point.
By the way, you mentioned it. I forgot to mention at the top of the show. UD going into protocol, that's a bummer, because he's been so good during this stretch, and and I know he's going to be back hopefully sooner rather than later, and let's all hope that he's asymptomatic and he's feeling good. But watching UD sparingly go out there and thrive, I mean, does it make you wonder why for a couple of years this guy wasn't getting any opportunities? Was it just a matter of there weren't enough openings because now we've been ravaged by injury and COVID? But still, like, even with not a lot of openings, it looks to me like UD is still good enough. He could have gotten more than 2 minutes last year.
Definitely. And I think the biggest thing is when you're sitting in that arena and he checks in, the whole arena goes crazy. The players on the floor elevate just because of that emotional shift. He could have been used last season. He could have been used before that, because there's many games where they're in a drought and they just need some type of spark. Maybe it's not on the court, but it's just some type of spark. He was that in that Philly game. If you look back, him getting ejected kind of got people going in that game. But even looking at this last game, the spark he provided was on the floor. Like as I mentioned before, Omer Yurtseven was their only big. They used Haslam off the bench, and they needed him as a roller. Tyler had a crazy passing game up till his ejection, and almost all of his assists were feeding Haslam on the roll, just because he's such a simple player. And it was something I asked Spoelstra about after the game, because you watch Haslam out there and he does the same exact thing every time he goes down the floor. Like once in a while he'll pop out to that baseline jumper, but he's going to set an off-ball screen at the top of the key. He'll run a pick and roll the basket, and if he's there, he'll go up with it. If not, he'll kick it out. It's just such a simple game, and it helps a lot of these young guys that right now he could have been used. And I feel like, obviously you don't know with this virus, but it was a terrible timing for Haslam to go into that protocol, because right now is when his minutes were going to be at its peak for the season.
A guy who just got out of the protocol and looked like he picked up basically where he left off is Caleb Martin. Have you been surprised by his success? Because like right before he went into the protocol, he had the game of his life. That was the 28-point game. And then he goes into the protocol. Now he's out. He looked good the other night.
Yeah, he had 28-point career high, goes in for 2.5 weeks into protocols, comes back, and now he's in that game, he was the team high in points, tied with Jimmy Butler. Like that was a two-way contract a bit ago. The good news is that it's no longer against him for the regular season. There's no 50-game limit anymore, which is huge, because this guy can be used for the rest of the season. There's no doubt about that. He's going to plug into the starting lineup when needed. They've kind of called him a Jimmy Butler filler, which is not an easy nickname to be given, or a role to be given on a team like this, to be filling Jimmy Butler's shoes. But he basically has. He's been doing just a ton of things on both sides of the ball. I was a bit surprised early on of how good he was defensively. Now it's just, you just know. And now I'm a little bit surprised with how good he's been offensively, because he continues to hit the catch and shoot three, which is one of the things that we kind of looked at and said, can he do that consistently? He has done that consistently. He's done that at a pretty, a high rate. He can collapse a defensive bed. He's super athletic. So when he's going through the lane, he has these crazy athletic finishes, and he's just been a good player, to just a plug and play guy that they can utilize. I just don't see a way. We've talked about this a lot, but looking at Max Strus play well, Gabe Vincent play well, Caleb Martin play well, Omer just had the big game. Like when this team is fully healthy, they are a very deep team. They're the deepest team in the NBA, in my opinion. But it also means Eric Spoelstra is going to have to make some decisions. And if Max Strus is shooting this way, and Caleb Martin's this two-way player going on both sides of the ball and give you this type of production, I just can't see a way you totally shelve a guy like that.
I caught one of the recent episodes of Five on the Floor, and I spoke to Ethan a little bit about this yesterday. He was on the show, and I think that he and the rest of you guys brought up some good points about just what a great development season this has been for the Miami Heat. And Ethan throws this out there, and I completely co-sign on this. Eric Spoelstra loves the types of games where the roster is so thin and he's able to kind of go in the lab and like cook up the experiments and bring the best out of some of these young unheralded guys. But obviously at a certain point, we're going to need everybody healthy, right? I mean, once you get down the stretch run, you're going to hope you have all hands on deck, including Victor Oladipo. I've not forgotten about him. But in the meantime, Brady, how valuable is it for these guys down deep on the roster, whether it be a Caleb, an Omer Yurtseven, Gabe Vincent, KZ Okpala has been getting a lot of time. Max Strus, of course, has been massive. Like just the experience that they're building, because God forbid if we do need these guys to be regular playoff contributors, the way I look at it, at least they're going to be ready.
Oh, they'll definitely be ready. And I think to the Spoelstra point, this is right now the perfect scenario for him. As we're talking about, he thinking playoff time, he always would shrink down to 8-man rotations. He's basically forced into regular season 8-man rotation just because of all the guys that have gone out. And obviously, we're talking about lower guys on the roster. There's never been a better season to be, as I said this to you, I think last week, there's never been a better season to be a G League player, because there's just so many opportunities that are coming up. And then you have these guys on the bottom of the roster that have these regular contracts, and they're starting probably a majority of their games. You look at a Max Strus, who's playing starting power forward for this team. That's another part of this. I just think it's interesting. It's good reps for them as just in general, but it's good reps for them that they have to be put in all types of scenarios. If you're looking, Caleb Martin playing small ball 5 last game, Max Strus, as I just mentioned, playing starting power forward. Gabe Vincent is throwing everywhere on the floor from pressing to zone, just anywhere offensively. Like all these guys are plugged into so many different spots that I don't see a way that if they are needed in a playoff series and guys go down or they just need a spark, that they're not ready, just because there's no scenario that they haven't been used in the first 2 months of the season.
By the way, for all the Brady Hawk fans in the chat, do a solid for Brady. If you're not going to do it for me, do it for Brady. Smash the like button. Smash the like button, and make sure, if you haven't already, you subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. Tonight, going up against the Washington Wizards, I'm having trouble keeping track of who's in and who's out. I know Lowry and Haslam are in the protocols. PJ, Markeith, I'm guessing, still out. What are we looking at as far as starting lineup tonight, Brady, and healthy players? And the Heat should still beat Washington. They are favored tonight.
Yeah, PJ Tucker's questionable at the moment, and I think that's the big one, because if he is out, as I mentioned before, they do not have any bigs. Like, it's Omer Gertzman and it's KZ Okpala. So I do think if PJ Tucker does end up playing, I kind of wonder if they rotate Omer to the bench possibly, just because they need bodies. Like, I don't think they're scared to put PJ at starting center, but obviously coming back from this injury, maybe they don't want to put that type of thing on him. I think maybe they start Omer, PJ if he does play, Jimmy, Duncan, and Gabe. That just seems like the easy one to go. And then if PJ doesn't end up playing, they probably put Max Strus again at the 4, roll with the same starting lineup. PJ, if he does play, they're going to do a ton of staggering because there's no other way around it. Like, it's going to be PJ in his lineups at the 5 next to probably KZ. It's a pairing I don't think I expected before the season, but it's a pairing that has worked really well. It's 2 guys that have offensive limitations, but the switching defensively, being put into similar spots offensively has worked. So I think maybe we see that if PJ does play, but if he doesn't, it's going to be an interesting night because you're going to have KZ Okpala at the 5 minutes next to a guard at the 4. And I think Caleb Martin being back is actually, even more helpful than it would have been because, as I just mentioned, Caleb Martin was playing the 5 for stretches. He could definitely play the 4. This is a new league anyway, especially with all these guys out. All these other teams are playing smaller, bigger, either way, depending on who they have out. Washington will be playing smaller. They don't have Montrezl Harrell, so they can match up decently. I think Miami should be okay. Tyler Hero still coming off the bench in that way, off of a tough game, just because he got ejected also before that point. He was not shooting well. All of his shots were just really
and that
tough.
ejection was BS, right?
Yeah,
for that to be a second technical, like that was soft.
The first one definitely made sense. The first one definitely was a technical. The second one, I didn't see it at the arena why it was a technical, and then rewatching it on the screen, it did not make any sense because it didn't even seem like he had any extra thing thrown at him. I said before that I think it was maybe he was taking the Kyle Lowry role too literally in that game. But other than that, Tyler Hero coming back, I would expect a big one because as we talk about with Jimmy coming back from tough performances, Tyler always seems to bounce back from type of games like this.
So Heat tonight, 7:30, FTX Arena hosting the Washington Wizards. Heat are 6.5-point favorites tonight. What's your prediction? How do you expect it to go?
I do think the Heat win just because I think Bradley Beal is still questionable. I think he was in the protocols. He was waiting to be cleared.
Right.
So especially if he doesn't play, this should open up for them. I think the big thing, and I think I say this probably every Tuesday, and I say this on every pregame show and every podcast, but just trying to get Duncan Robinson on track. Because it seems like that's the one thing that comes up when you look across the roster. You can't really pick out any of the young guys. They've played phenomenal. Tyler Hero has done his thing. You want to get Jimmy in some type of rhythm because even though he came out firing with the shot attempts, you want to see the same type of Jimmy Butler just finishing wise, and that'll come as he gets his legs back into him. He was still getting that friendly whistle, by the way, in that last game because he came right back in the first quarter. I think he had 6 to 7 free throws in the first quarter. That isn't going anywhere, but ultimately they just need to figure out the Duncan Robinson thing, just continue to get him shots, continue to figure out lineups, which are limited at the moment because they cannot do too many different things lineup-wise with him just because they are going to probably have an 8-man, 9-man rotation at most tonight. And I think another thing to look at with the lacking the big men if PJ doesn't play is maybe you get to see Cheatham, who we haven't really gotten to see. I don't know when he's going to bounce back down to a G League possibly.
Good question because it answers this down here.
Yeah, because I wonder if we will see him because we haven't seen him yet, but he's been on the bench, and I would expect him to be on the bench again. But that should be expiring pretty soon. But obviously some guys entering back into the protocols that might open it up. with Hazem entering today. So maybe we see some minutes from him. That's something I would be interested in.
Really good stuff here by Brady Hawk. Of course, you could always check out his work, 5reasonsports.com. He does a great job with the 5 takeaways after every game. Anything else you want people to look out for? And when's the next show you're doing on the network?
Yeah, just through Film Dives on Twitter at BradyHawk305, and then obviously 5 on the floor after games and in between days when there's no game.
The film dives are great. I always learn something when I watch those, so I know people appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, Brady Hawk 305 is where you find this man. By the way, in a few minutes, we're going to do something really, really fun. We're going to have like a mini roundtable, which basically means I'm going to be teeing up Big John Stud and Alfredo Arteaga to hopefully yell and scream at each other and talk some Miami Dolphins. Although, I don't know, man, I feel like I might have to troll a little bit because I feel like Big John Stud and Alf, they're both so sensical that they're probably going to agree on a lot of stuff. Like, I know how to push buttons a little bit. I do it all the time on social media. Sometimes I'm too anon. Sometimes I like to poke the bear and be like a Tua hater on Twitter, and I get people going. It's fun, but we're going to be doing that in a little bit. I want to run through a couple of Dolphin points before we start the roundtable. And it's a beautiful day for Dolphin fans. And just allow yourself a day or two not to focus too much on the future. Although we got our guy Tannehill coming up in 5 days. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to be a little bit nervous for that game because I don't want to lose to Tannehill. But don't think too much about needing these next 2 victories. I think in life, it's really important to not always be looking ahead. I think sometimes in our American society, we do that a little bit too much. Like we're always looking for the next thing, and we don't always kind of focus and enjoy what's happening right now and what's right in front of us. Because what's right in front of us right now, my friends, is league standings, conference standings. Miami Dolphins are in a playoff spot right now. Like they go from within a weekend, they go from 11th place in the AFC to 7th place, final playoff spot. They even have a chance they could end up in the 6th playoff spot by the time this is all said and done. I'm enjoying it right now. Like I am enjoying the rags to riches story where you go from 2 months ago, you're 1-7. We're talking about who do we fire? Everybody? Okay, great. I got that. Those are the conversations we're having 2 months ago. Who's going to be our quarterback next year? Who's going to be our coach? Who's going to be our general manager? And what do these guys do? Do they listen to us? No. They say, hey, we're going to focus on ourselves. We're going to get better. We're going to win 7 straight. And regardless of the competition, I think it's really impressive the way Brian Flores has rallied the troops, right? Because I haven't covered this year's team in the locker. I don't think anybody's covered them in the locker room, by the way. I think with COVID, that's kind of a thing of the past now. We don't really do locker room access before. I've covered many a Miami Dolphin team in the locker room. I started covering teams like day-to-day from Nick Saban era through Cam Cameron, Adam Gase. I think I left out Tony Sperano. May he rest in peace. Joe Philbin. Like I've covered some bad coaches and some terrible coaches over the years, and I've seen coaches lose locker rooms before. I remember what it was like being in the locker room of the Cam Cameron year when the team was like 0-7, 0-8, 0-9, and these guys were checked out. Like they were completely checked out. They weren't playing for their coach. It would have been really easy for this team at 1-7 with some of the awful losses that they suffered. I mean, do you remember how we got our asses handed to us by Buffalo week 2? How we got our asses handed to us by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers earlier on in the season? Like those are the types of losses. You came out of those games saying, God, this team is so terrible. They lost to Jacksonville in London. That was a close game, but you have I don't care if it's close or a blowout. You have no business losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like we have been to so many low points this year. And the fact that this team stayed together and keeps playing for each other and keeps playing for their coach, I think is really impressive. And yeah, I think the for as bad as the first Buffalo game, especially, and the Tampa Bay loss was, the Jags L was the worst of the year. And if the Dolphins do fall short of the playoffs, that's the one that we're going to look back to. Like, okay, so here's the thing. If Miami loses this Sunday to Tennessee, or if they lose New England week 18 at home against New England, a lot of simpletons will say that's the game that knocked us out of the playoffs. I'm not going to look at it that way. Like, these are two difficult games. I think the Tennessee game, especially the Tennessee game, to me, looks like it's going to be tougher than New England at home, especially with the way Mac Jones has been playing lately. The Tennessee game is not going to be a walk in the park. But if you were to hypothetically get to that New England game on an 8-game winning streak and lose that game to get knocked out of the playoffs that day, a lot of people say that's the game that knocked us out of the playoffs. I'm going to say no. Losing to Jacksonville, that's the game that knocked us out of the playoffs, because that's going to be my biggest regret this year. Before we brought on Brady, we were talking about this defense. I mean, you think about, man, Javon Holland has been an absolute revelation this year. Brandon Jones has been a stud. He gets a pick the other night. X continues to do his thing. Jalen Phillips is going to be a monster in this league. Ogba is already a monster. He got 2 sacks yesterday. Zach Sealer played a fantastic game. He's great. Now, Tua Tagovailoa, we hadn't talked much about him. He didn't have a great game yesterday. Didn't have a great game the week prior against the Jets either, but 2 victories. And let's also not forget, Tua Tagovailoa has been making plays this season despite having no time to throw behind a terrible offensive line and virtually no running game, except for that second Jets game where Duke Johnson went off for 107 yards. Other than that, he's had no run support. When I talk about him like he's a pitcher, he's had no run support from his running game this year. I was watching this morning. I was doing a lot of channel surfing today. You know how on like some of the like on like ESPN The Ocho, because there's like 100 of them, how here I'm mushing the streak. Well, I love how Welch is now in on the mush thing too. I can't escape this mush thing. It used to be contained to Brooklyn Rob and David. This thing is spreading like Omicron now. Everybody's calling me the mush. Everybody, man. I was watching, when I'm flipping through channels, you know how ESPN will put their radio shows on TV, and I'm probably the only guy who ever actually sits and watches it, because it's like, watching radio dudes. It's kind of what I'm doing now, so I hope you guys are enjoying. But I was watching a couple of fill-in hosts today on ESPN radio. Fill-in guys, the holiday season, it's not the usual host. And some guy, I don't know his name, but I know he's fatter and balder than me. He said Tua Tagovailoa, he said, has never thrown a football more than 15 yards. He actually said that. Tua Tagovailoa has never thrown a ball more than 50 yards. Like, this is the kind of stuff you see people get away with on ESPN and Fox Sports 1 because they're talking to a bunch of losers who don't actually watch the games and don't actually watch Tua play. I mean, if this fat, bald dude, fatter and balder than me, was actually watching the game last night, I mean, Tua hit Mac Hollins yesterday on a perfectly placed deep ball last night. Now, on the Tua thing, it's okay still to be uncertain one way or the other, right? It's okay to watch the Dolphins and be uncertain as to whether Tua is a franchise quarterback or not. But let's not just make shit up just for the sake of creating narratives, because a lot of people are just making shit up, man. I think Tua Tagovailoa, he's done an admirable job without a whole lot to work with. When you think about the lack of production from the running game and the lack of blocking. I mean, Austin Jackson should have several warrants for attempted murder in his name, or attempted manslaughter. What do you want to get? Just like this, he's trying to get Tua killed. He's trying to get Tua Tagovailoa killed. This Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg. How is it we found the only bad offensive tackle out of Notre Dame? Like, in the history of Notre Dame football, every offensive tackle they've ever produced has been great. Like, we find the one guy who probably isn't. And Tua, to his credit, he's now atop the NFL in completion percentage, because for a few weeks he was second place behind Kyler Murray. He's now on top of the NFL in completion percentage, number 8 in the league in quarterback rating. Put a little respect on this guy's name, okay? Like, and I see some Dolphin fans. We're going to start the roundtable in a second, by the way, because everybody's here. Some Dolphin fans are like really worried that this winning streak and the way that this season is playing out is a mirage, right? That this is just the same old Dolphins. They're getting our hopes up, and it's only going to distract us from who we should be firing and who we should be replacing. They compare it to, and part of this is fair because, I've been a Dolphin fan all my life. You start to kind of compare certain seasons to others. They compare it to the one-off playoff season in 2008 when Chad Pennington's Dolphins kept facing backup quarterbacks and beating bad teams, which is, kind of outside of the Baltimore Ravens, it's kind of what they've been doing, right? It's kind of like that, but I think there's a big difference here, okay? In 2008, you had a journeyman quarterback, because that's what he was at that point, in his 30s, clearly in the twilight of his career, talking about Chad Pennington. Like, you knew Pennington was not getting any better than he was in 2008. He's on the back nine of his career. He's probably farther down that back nine than we even thought at the time. You used a ton of smoke and mirrors in that 2008 season. You had, the Wildcat. You still use the Wildcat sometimes to this day. But back then, the Wildcat was revolutionary. Back then, the Wildcat was the most impactful thing. And it took teams like a season to figure out how to stop it at that point. So what Miami was doing that season was not sustainable. At least this time around, you've got a young quarterback. You're going to have cap space, money to theoretically spend on improving your offensive line. Because I do think Barry Jackson put something out last night that I agree with. When you're retooling and rebuilding this offensive line, I hope that they do a lot of work actually through free agency, because they have such a bad track record of drafting offensive linemen. You might want to go after the established guys because the evaluations have been so poor. All right, let's get it going, my friends. Let me introduce these cats one by one. We're switching days around. Like, one of the guys joining us is usually with us on Monday. Today is Tuesday. We changed everything around because we had a game last night. Alfredo Arteaga. I love recapping games with this man. How are you, sir?
Feeling like a winner, right?
7 straight, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, feeling good.
Feel like a 7-time winner. And our good pal, Big John Stud, bottom of the screen there. And I've been dying to get these two guys on together, basically so I can just kick my feet up and let you guys duke it out. Big John Stud, how you doing?
What's up, man? How you, Alfredo, my friend? It's been a while. How are you doing, bro? Doing good?
Doing great, man.
Hey, that was funny, bro. I didn't realize you actually were comical sometimes. Alex, bro, I didn't know Austin Jackson had some warrants for his arrest, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is true. It is true. It is true.
How many times does that dude try to get Tua killed, man? It's crazy.
I told you he's a drive-through, bro. You don't believe me? It's true.
Yeah, but if Austin Jackson has warrants out for his arrest, isn't Jesse Davis already on like death row already?
My daughter has sacked Tua, gone around him this year like 6 times, and she's 2 years old, bro. I'm telling you. At least she knows how to fall forward. He falls backwards.
There it is.
So,
Jesse Davis and Austin Jackson deserve jail time. You know what? Honestly, who do you think gets locked up for longer, Big John? Jesse Davis, Austin Jackson, or Deshaun Watson? Like, who do you think is going to spend the most time in the can?
Wow. I would say Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, but I mean, they deserve to go to jail equally, bro. That's how bad they've been. Equally, they all deserve to go in there for like 7 years apiece. Like, it's bad.
Alfredo, I want to start with you on this.
Maybe Deshaun Watson's punishment should be like he has to go play at an arena league or something, and his 2 tackles have to be Austin Jackson and Jesse Davis.
How great would that be?
Like, that's a pretty interesting sentence, right? Although it could be against, it could be unconstitutional for cruel and unusual punishment.
Right. They'd have to take him down to Guantanamo Bay or something just to be able to get away with that.
Like, look, Deshaun, you're guilty. Here's your sentence. Your 2 tackles, they're right there. Austin Jackson, Jesse Davis.
Oh my God. So taking a look at this winning streak, 7 games. I know that people are going to bring up, oh, look, these are the quarterbacks they've beaten. These are the teams that they've beaten. Alf, no matter who you're going up against, these are professional football players. Winning 7 straight games in this league is not easy. It's downright schizophrenic to lose 7 straight and then win 7 straight. I'd like to think that the 7 straight victories, that's closer to who these Dolphins really are than the 7 straight losses for a number of reasons. But, you have pointed out, not only on 3 yards per carry, you pointed out on this show before that, the idea of winning 9 straight and getting into the playoffs, it seems almost too good to be true to me, and it's never happened before. Like, it's historic, as you pointed out. So how confident, if at all, do you feel in actually finishing the job? Because the 2 games you have coming up are tougher on paper than the last couple you've had.
I'll let you know at about 4:05 on Sunday. If they win that one, they're getting to 10. Okay, like I'm telling you right now, that's their last stumbling block is right there. Because I'm sorry, Mac Jones is not coming to Miami and beating a Brian Flores-led defense. It's just not happening. By hook or by crook, they'll find a way to win that one against New England. This is the big one. This one they're gonna need Tua to play well. They're gonna have to mind their P's and Q's. They're gonna have to have a game plan for AJ Brown. They're gonna have to have a game plan for Ryan Tannehill. Okay, he's a different quarterback than what they faced as of late. So this is the big one. They get this one, they're gonna do it. They're gonna pull off the 9 straight.
What do you think, Big John? I know you're usually my rock. Like usually, if my faith is wavering, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I talk to you, and you set me straight.
I mean, at the end of the day, this may be the first time me and Alf disagree in the history of disagreements, but that's what everybody wanted, right?
Ooh, that's what I signed you guys up for the slugfest.
I honestly don't even see Tennessee being a problem, just from the standpoint that, in my opinion, if Ryan Tannehill doesn't have a running game, he just can't play quarterback. I mean, I get it. He has A.J. Brown. I get it. He has Julio Jones. But I also get that Ryan Tannehill walks into sacks. Like, he literally will let you sack him. He has no pocket presence whatsoever. And he still has a little pocket presence. And he's not here. So to me, you got to do the same thing to him that you did to Lamar Jackson. You zero blitz him. I'm not afraid of Ryan Tannehill throwing the football. Look, if Ryan Tannehill beats the Dolphins throwing the football, we deserve to not make the playoffs.
I can say the same thing about both, honestly. Like
you pay $15 million to one guy, $15 million to the other, give or take a few pennies. They're there for a reason. They're lockdown corners. If you can beat me at what I do best, you deserve to win. You're not going to run the football. So that's just the way I look at it. And how many players are going to be on COVID? Because I think they're who's their main linebacker? Isn't he on the COVID list already right now?
Yeah, Bud Dupree got on the COVID list.
He got from yesterday.
Yeah, but he could test out. And Julio Jones is on the COVID list, but that doesn't really matter. Julio Jones has been terrible this year.
Not a factor. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, you know, they could get kind of lucky if Bud Dupree is not in this game, because Bud Dupree's a problem coming off the edge.
Now, before we talk about the Dolphins quarterback, I feel like I owe it to the real ones out there to start with the Dolphins defense, right? Because everybody, all these national talking heads, they have their Tua debates and they ignore the defense. Like, you know, for as much as I like Tua as well as he's played, the Dolphins are in this position primarily because their defense, because they've been so dominant in the second half of the season. And Big John Stud, I'll start with you on this one, and then Alfredo, you can jump in after that. You know, for the last really 8 games, because I think it even goes back to the game before the winning streak started. The second game against Buffalo, the defense started playing really well. They've turned a corner since that time. What's been the difference, Big John? Like, why do you think for, you know, the first 7 games of the season, this didn't look like the 2020 defense, and now they seem to have recaptured the magic of last year?
Well, I told it to you before, and I'll say it to you now, that meeting that people don't know about, that I told you about, that put certain people in their place, and you're being held accountable. You're being held accountable. People don't know you're being held accountable, but at 8 o'clock at night, at 8 o'clock in the morning, when he's screaming and shouting, and we all know who he is because he owns the team, and he's putting you accountable, and he's telling you, hey, are you doing this on purpose or not? And he's bringing it up that people don't know about. You know, and Xavier Howard said it. We went back to last year's defense. Wait a minute. Why did you go back to it was working last year? Why would you fix what's not broken? You know, so I mean, and I also think Javon Holland taking a step, learning the defense. He couldn't play it at the beginning of the year if he would have wanted to. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I told you in a past episode, if you would have started the 11 players in week 1, Devin McCourty was starting, not Javon Holland. You should have done it from game 1. That's why, to me, there's no excuse. All the 11 players that are that were playing in week 1 know the defense. It's not like Jalen Phillips wasn't starting, Javon Holland wasn't starting, so you have no excuse not to run it. Why you let Mac Jones check down 27 times in week 1 is beyond me. When you know that none of the linebackers can cover. They can't cover it. And Landon Roberts and Jerome Baker, it's like pass go for free. Here, throw it to him. 10 yards. Yeah, Jerome Baker leads in tackles after the first down marker. He'll give you 7 yards and he'll tackle you. But he doesn't stop anybody.
What do you think, Alf?
Well, they made a lot of changes. First of all, they had a lot of injuries in the secondary starting in week 2 against Buffalo, and they overcompensated for it. Like they had Xavier Howard had a knee issue, and then Byron Jones also had a knee issue, and they should have never played in that Tampa Bay game. That's just a fact. Okay, and then they overcompensated by starting to play way too much zone. They had Jalen Phillips standing up and playing linebacker. They had Jerome Baker playing straight, playing middle linebacker, and a lot of pass downs. Okay, so it was giving them way too much to do, and everybody was basically out of position. Since then, they've gone back to basics. They've had Jalen Phillips hand on the ground, rushing as an edge. They even have him rushing as a 3-tech as well. Jerome Baker's back outside where he belongs and where he's actually pretty good in the flat, especially, and he's really good at using his feet, being as fast as he is. He covers so much ground on pass defense that he takes away so many passing lanes that he's now become what he's supposed to be, a $10-11 million a year linebacker. So they basically just went to basics and put everybody back into their best roles. They did too much experimenting early in the season, and it was mostly due because they had a couple of injuries and they were afraid to play the defense that they played before with a couple of corners that were injured. And basically that's their problem because they should have trusted Nick Needham to spell Xavier Howard for at least a game or two. Right. And, just go with the guys that you have. Yeah, you have depth for a reason, right? So they should have used it instead of playing those guys hurt in a couple of games earlier this year. Now they're just back to basics and playing what they do best. And this defense is elite. Like they have talent up and down that defense. So everybody that okay, Chris Greer's had his problems building an offensive line, but he has had no problems building a defense because he's gone pick for pick for pick and hit on every single one of them. The only one he hasn't hit on was Noah Benogany. But he found Nick Needham off the street. Raekwon Davis is a stud. Christian Wilkins is a star. He got Zach Sealer out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. He plucked him off of Baltimore's practice squad, and he's one of the better defensive tackles in football. Jalen Phillips is a stud. And Emmanuel Ogbah, they better get ready to pay him. Okay? Because he's going to ask for money, and they got to give it to him. He's having a monster season. Jerome Baker's great. Javon Holland's good. Brandon Jones is good. Eric Rowe plays his role. And then you paid for the 2 corners. So, yeah, this defense is absolutely stacked. And it's really that. They're getting back to the basics.
And that's why, when I see people ask, are these Dolphins, are they frauds? Is this a fraudulent 7-game winning streak? Are they pretenders? Thing is, the defense is far from fraudulent, okay? I mean, listen, the offense at times, smoke and mirrors because the offensive line is so bad and the running game has been so ineffective that they've had to really they've had to rely a lot on Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki at times, not yesterday, or Devontae Parker. Yes, I don't know where he was on a milk carton yesterday, but no, the defense to me, that's why these guys are not frauds, because the defense is capable of playing at a championship level. But let's talk about the quarterback here. That's the last thing I want to go around the table on. Let's talk about Tua before we wrap it up in a few. Tua Tagovailoa. What was you guys? We'll start with you, Alfredo. Your evaluation on his performance as of late. Now, we talked about this. I think I talked about this with both of you guys last week. That I'm beyond the point where every game, every individual game needs to be a make or break from Tua. I think the way that people try to evaluate him just throw by throw, he's good, now he sucks, now he's good, is ridiculous. And I think we could probably all agree with what Roadrunner said here. 13 offensive points is not going to be good enough to beat Tennessee this week. And I wholeheartedly agree, right? You know, unless they've got 22 COVID cases like New Orleans had this week, the offense as a whole is going to need to be better. What have you seen, Alfredo, from Tua these last couple of games where he's not been at his best? And what are you expecting against Tennessee this week?
Well, if you've seen the Peyton Manning video that he did on Tua Tagovailoa, where he actually praises him a lot. He likes Tua a lot. He says that, you know, his old quarterbacks coach used to tell him never get bored taking a profit. And he says that you could almost see how sometimes Tua is kind of bored taking a profit, and he doesn't want to dink and dunk, and he wants to push the ball down the field.
The interception last night.
And you see he goes off script, and he does this about once a game, and he usually pays for it. One thing I did like about yesterday, he got 3 single high looks. Look, everybody says, oh, he never throws the ball deep. Okay, he doesn't push the ball deep. Okay, if he never throws the ball deep and nobody's afraid of him throwing it deep, then why are all these defensive coordinators, including Dennis Allen last night, who's one of the better defensive coordinators in football, okay, why do they all defend him as if they're afraid of him going deep? It's because he's accurate deep, okay? They played too deep almost the entire game yesterday, okay? They give him 3 single high looks yesterday, and in those 3 single high looks, what did Tua do? He went deep. He went to Parker once. That was his only target in the game. Parker had to break it up. He went deep to Waddle on another one. Marshawn Lattimore was there, and the ball could have been completed, but he let him a little bit too far out of bounds. And the third one he completed, which was to Matt Collins for 40 yards. So he has to clean that up. You know, he has to. There's no sin in checking down or going to your second read. Okay, you don't have to push it downfield. You know, and then he has to fix that little fade step that he has. And I understand what he has it because he's anticipating contact. He thinks he's going to get hit any single second. So you saw it on the first drive. On the first, you know, he could have converted with that little crosser to Myles Gaskin, and he was fading away from the ball, and the ball sailed on him. So he has to fix a couple of minor mechanical issues, and he has to stop with those YOLO throws, which he's doing at least once a game. And afterwards, if you saw his interview, his presser, he kind of acknowledged, like, yeah, that was a terrible decision. I had Waddle wide open underneath. Yeah. I probably should have gone there. So he's learning. It's a process, but he's been pretty good. You know, that, like for a young quarterback, this is what it looks like when he's good.
By the way, how about this for a compliment? Tua is better than Jay Fiedler. I agree. I agree. He's better than Jay Fiedler was. But Big John Stud, I'll give you the parting words on Tua, what you've seen from him these last couple of weeks and what you're expecting against the Titans.
Well, I mean, as always, when Alf speaks, there's a reason why you listen. He's literally spot on with everything he says. And it's true, he does have that little hitch in his delivery. But, I mean, when Austin Jackson's a drive-through and Jesse Davis can't block my daughter, you need to get rid of the football. And his footwork is on that throw. It was terrible. I didn't know if he was falling back, if he was in the matrix, if he was throwing. I don't know what he was doing. I just knew it looked nothing like what it should have looked like. Therefore, the ball sailed. But I do see that when you give him time, he makes every throw on the football field you want. Does he have the strongest arm? No, but he's just Tom Brady. And the guy's got 7 championships.
Well, how about Drew Brees? I mean, he had a great career, not a very strong arm.
I understand, but at the same time, I like comparing Tua more to Tom Brady than I do Drew Brees, because I think Tom Brady's anticipation is more along the line of Tua, even though he's got the body type of Drew Brees. Tua sees things before they happen. That's why they don't let him, like he said, throw deep. They play too high all the time for one reason. They don't want you to throw the ball on the field. So apparently people can think he can't throw, but apparently he can. You know, my mom just made me look like I feel like I'm in heaven. You
look very divine. Like it.
No. You see,
Look like a solar eclipse all of a sudden.
Yeah. My bald head was. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But yeah, I see from Tua, as long as Tua does what he's asked to do, and unfortunately, like we said, think of it this way: Will Fuller robbed the Dolphins with a mask and gun. Okay, that guy jacked us for $10 million, and when he played 5 quarters. I think it was 5 quarters.
Yeah.
Okay, you're supposed to have a speed element out there to help dictate defense that you don't have, because Devontae Parker is not going to outrun anybody. So, and at the end of the day, can I ask a question? Maybe Alf knows the answer. Why do they not play Mac Hollins? Somebody tell me why the guy gets no snaps.
Seriously,
they're gonna have to start
every time he's out there, big catch.
Yeah, they're gonna have to start playing him a lot more. And yeah, you talked about speed. Like that's one thing that Mac Hollins. The thing is that people look at him and they say, "Oh, he's big," so they don't know the guy used to be a track star. He's fast.
He shook the guy off the line.
Yeah, there's a reason that guy's a gunner. He gets down there fast. So maybe he could be the deep threat for the rest of the year. They're going to need it. They're going to need – and I want to see a little bit more of that Tommy Lee Lewis. Like that he looked kind of quick. Mm-hmm. He looked like Jakeem, but without the fumbles, which is nice.
Yeah. You mean like Jakeem, but with the hands? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. He got injured, right?
Oh, he did?
Tommy Lee Lewis had a hip injury. He didn't come back in the game.
Oh, that's right.
That's bad. Yeah, that's why they had Holland returning the punts at the end of the game. Yeah,
that makes sense. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up in a moment, but I want to give both of you a chance to promote everything you got going. Big John, I'll start with you. I know there was that one time when they had trouble finding you on Twitter, even though it's literally what we see up there. Big John Stud 007. Clarify that for the folks out there who can't find you.
They need to learn to search the internet, bro. If you can't find me, you can always ask Alexa or Google helps out. I really don't know what to tell you. You find me all the time, so
yeah.
And you know what? I think even Alf knows where I live. You can find me. I think so can he.
He'll egg your house if you're not careful. What about Big John? You doing any streams this week? Do you guys have the live show Wednesday?
Yes, I do. I think we have TD coming up. It's gonna be fun.
Nice.
I get to watch TD try to figure skate out of questions.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, he should be at the Olympics. I think he was a add-on to roll bounce because he likes to skate around everything you ask him. So we'll see.
I love it. Alfredo Arteaga, of course, 3 yards per carry. When can we find the next episode? Is it out now? Because I was looking for it this morning.
Yeah, we dropped it at lunchtime today. So
that's why I was looking for it this morning. I'm like, I didn't know what to listen to. I couldn't find 3 yards per carry, but it is out now.
Yeah, we dropped it for lunch today, and then on Thursday, of course, it's going to be a big preview episode. Biggest game of the year, biggest game of the Flores era, in my opinion.
Real quick on the way out, I want to ask both of you guys because we're all Dolphins fans here. I had the opportunity to host the Joe Rose show this morning, and we talked about this a little bit. If I told you, and obviously none of us want this, but if I told you we had to lose one of the next 2 games, which would be more painful, losing to Tannehill or losing to Mac and the Patriots, Alf?
I think losing to Mac and the Patriots.
I agree.
At least you lose to Tennessee, you can say, oh, okay, they're really, really good. They have a much better record than we do. And it was on the road. But at home against a rookie quarterback, you're expected to beat the hell out of that team in Week 18.
What about you, Big John?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Me too.
I agree. I can't. I mean, I said it before, and I'll say it again. If you blitz Mac Jones, he crumbles like an accordion. He does not like to get blitzed. He's not going to go anywhere. If Joe Flacco is not going to run anywhere, I think Joe Flacco is faster than Mac Jones right now. You put him in a foot race, I think Joe Flacco wins. I'm telling you.
I love it. I can't tell you both how much I appreciate it. It was great shooting the shit with both of you after really important win last night. I don't care if people are complaining, oh, they went up against all backups. Who cares, man? You can't control who's in front of you.
Hey, you play who's on the schedule, bro.
Boom.
It's not
Yeah,
your
and in
fault
the
that
end-
everybody has COVID.
And in the end, New Orleans had everybody except Malcolm Jenkins and a couple of linebackers. But, Warner played really, really well.
Yeah.
And they still had their all-world 2 defensive ends, had one of the best corners in football in Lattimore, and they have the best slot guy in Gardner Johnson. So, that was a defense that held Rodgers and Brady to a combined 3 points. Okay? So you got to respect a good defense when you see it. And they got 13 points, fine. If they wanted to, they could have gotten a little bit more. If you notice, they took their foot off the gas pretty hard late in the third quarter.
By the way, I think Manny Chang is secretly a Dolphins hater because he keeps flashing this up here. The quarterbacks the Dolphins have beaten, Tyrod Taylor. Although, like, Lamar Jackson doesn't really even belong in there. Like, I mean, the other guys, like Tyrod Taylor, Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco, Cam Newton, PJ Walker, Mike Glennon, Zach Wilson, Ian Book. The quarterbacks during the 7-game win streak. Hey, you play who's in front of you, man. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate both of you guys. Make sure you guys check them out. Alfredo Arteaga. Is it Alf_Arteaga? Is that the right account?
Yeah.
Twitter?
Yeah, that's where you can find me on Twitter.
Alf_Arteaga, Big John Stud 007. And of course, make sure you guys check out their work, including the awesome 3 yards per carry here on the 5 Reasons Sports family. Guys, thank you so much. I'll talk to you both again soon.
No problem, man. Anytime, man. I'll be good.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. All right, my friends. This was a lot of fun today. A lot of fun. We'll throw out the shout outs in just a second, but got to shout out our awesome sponsors here on Donno Daily, our official sports book, BetUS.com, my friends. Free play money. If you're looking for a late holiday gift or you want to give a gift to yourself, sign up at America's favorite sports book with our code. We get you the best bonus in the industry. And yes, you can play at BetUS.com in Florida. People ask me that all the time. Sign up with our code 5RSN125. 5RSN125. When you make your deposit, when you use our code, you're going to get 125% sign up bonus. So if you, for example, deposit with $100, they're going to give you $125 on top of your deposit in free play money. That's more than doubling your money, man. This is the best deal you're going to find. Full service sports book. Bet on all the NFL games. Bet on the Miami Heat game tonight. The NHL's coming back. Bet on hockey games. Bet on international soccer. I bet on European soccer games all the time. And you can live bet on all of it, by the way. And they have a full-service casino right there on the site. You can even play blackjack, slot games, all sorts of card games. 5RSN125 is our code. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And our official sports bar. I need to wet my whistle. It's been a long couple of days, man. I need to knock down some of those 2-for-1 margaritas. I'm dressed for the occasion. I got my Hawaiian shirt on today. I'm going to be sipping these 2-for-1 margaritas at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The happy hour never ends at the Quarterdeck. 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. You show up anytime, any day, 2-for-1 drinks. The beer is always cold at the Quarterdeck. As you can imagine, because it's in the name of their restaurant, the seafood is fresh and it is delicious. I love to build my own poke bowl. I love the fresh mahi-mahi at the Quarterdeck. The buffalo shrimp is the bomb at the Quarterdeck. It is so good. The sandwiches and burgers are great. Guys, if you want to find the location nearest to you or check out their menu before you go, visit them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And we're also going to be, actually, it'll be the introduction. We're going to do it later this week. They'd been with us on the 5 Rings Canes podcast for a while. We now have an exclusive fantasy sports partnership with Prize Picks. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to plug Prize Picks in to the Donno Daily family later on this week. Make sure you sign up and use the code 5. I have a lot of fun at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks mobile app. A huge shout out to Manny Chang. Job well done by Manny as always. He puts the whole shindig together, man. Can you show your face, Manny, so the people know this good looking dude? He looks so tired.
Yeah, being sick is not cool.
I hope you feel better, man.
Yeah, me too. By the way, I'm not hating on the Dolphins at all. I just feel like that's just something that's been going around Twitter and it's going to continue, right? I mean, if you're not a Dolphins fan, that's all you're going to see, right?
That's true.
I just wanted to just show us so that people can kind of realize what's the narrative out there. If you're not you know what I'm saying? But this defense is a championship, like style of team. So they should be fine.
I love it. Let me throw some shout outs before we wrap it up. Our guy, Cap for Life. Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Brooklyn Rob. Cap for Life is shouting out Manny. I love it. Alex M. Thank you so much for coming on. Estefan, who's saying it's time to take dead aim on the Titans. He did D's aim. No, he corrected it. Dead aim is what he was saying there. I agree with Cap. Respect Mac Hollins. I love Mac Hollins. He deserves more playing time. Russian Spammer, thank you so much for tuning in. Lately, they've been coming out of the woodworks. People have told me these are actually the Jokic brothers. Listen, Donno, you talk a lot of shit about Jokic family. We have to, every now and then we have to show up in chat, set you a little bit straight. You talk a lot of nonsense about the Jokic family. So come on, we give you a little what's for here. So thank you so much for tuning in, Russian Spammers. Brooklyn Rob, I think I already shouted him out. Jay Rose, get 2 in the weight room this offseason. Honestly, I think the weight room is good for his durability. I don't think the weight room does much for the deep ball. I think that's more functional training. Like you can have the largest arms in the world and you can't throw 10 feet. But the weight room is good for other stuff.
And I also do want to say this: Tua needs to learn how to slide, man. He can't be taking them hits.
Yeah.
Like the one he did. Listen, last week I get it. You wanted to run for the first down. Yesterday's game, trying to make a play and then just being actually in no position to do anything. Right? You couldn't throw it away. You couldn't slide, and yet you gave yourself that whole vulnerability of just getting hit on the shoulder. Like that shouldn't be happening.
I agree with that.
No. Also, Alex, what is your fondest Dolphin Titans memory?
Zach, it was like around 01. I think it was 2001 when Zach Thomas scored the pick six and the flip in the end zone. I'll never forget that. I will never forget that. The Zach Thomas pick six. I love it. Hopefully we can make some new memories. Hopefully we'll get a pick six against Ryan Tannehill on Sunday. We can make some new memories. Let's see. Johnny Be Good. Thank you so much for tuning in. G.A. Kane fan. Man, canceling these bowl games left and right. UCLA versus NC State was canceled. Omicron strikes again. I'm still upset we can't watch the Hurricanes play this week. Miami didn't make the trip to the Sun Bowl because of COVID. Roranoa Zorro. That's a cool name. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Johnny Be Good, shouted him out. Another Russian spammer. Thank you so much, I guess. Andy, thank you so much for tuning in. Start Pups Inc. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alex M. Kenshin, thank you so much. Fins Up TNT. Big Boy 8D, thank you so much for tuning in. Wade LeBron, thank you. Roadrunner, thank you. Just so you know, if I don't shout you out, don't be mad. It's not on purpose. Big John Stud. If Manny keeps putting up that graphic, we're gonna take his shoes. If we were,
I actually just got a new pair about 10
really?
minutes ago. Yeah. So I'm about to show you. 350 reflectives.
That's not terrible. You know what I think? I think what you did it on purpose a few months ago. When you showed us the marshmallow shoes, those were so ugly that everything you've shown me since is not ugly, right? By comparison. Yeah, nice. Like I would wear those. They look comfortable.
Ultra Boost in the bottom, Prime Knit. You never see your shoe crease. Pretty nice investment here.
I approve.
Yeah.
Telling you, it's all been uphill. He showed us the foam runners or whatever they were. It looks like a size 6. He wears the same shoes as my 3-year-old, the same size. I'm mad, bro. Why? I don't understand why. Is that one of the people I called a Russian? No, that's not a Russian spam. I was like, well, why are you mad? Tell me why. Oh, did I not shout you out? Here's your shout out. Vitho Anati. Thank you so much for tuning in. Look, I was saying, don't be mad if I don't shout you out. I don't do it on purpose. It's I sometimes miss people on there. So you got your shout out in. Zachary B. Thank you so much. And also, if I shout out people multiple times, that's also not on purpose. I just, I take whatever I see here. Domi, thank you so much. We probably won't win the Super Bowl this year. And he's referencing something I said earlier, that if you're, because I see this debate today on Get Up where they're asking, are the Dolphins contenders or pretenders? Now, if you're talking about contending for a playoff spot, yeah. But if you're talking about contending for a Super Bowl, no. Like, nobody rational thinks they're going to win a Super Bowl this year. Like, you got to be off here. They got to improve that offense first, but they've got a good enough defense. They can get into the playoffs. I don't know how far they go, but they can get into the playoffs. Dream 2, thank you so much for tuning in. John Featherland, thank you so much, saying he's been set up to fail. That's what Tuanon says. Tuanon says that he is being sabotaged. Dash Oost, thank you so much for tuning in today. Xavier McDaniels, thank you. All right, let's see. Oh, George Albanese, the man named after my favorite brand of gummy bears. I'm telling you, Albanese, they are so much better than Haribos. Haribos are like, I don't have strong enough teeth for those things. They're like jawbreakers. The Albanese, perfect texture and flavor. Those are the best gummy bears out there. Welch, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me see if there's anybody I have not shouted out yet. EM Dolphin fan. I agree 100%. He says, I don't know if he agreed with me or with somebody who was talking in the show. Whoever you agree with, that's awesome. Mad Cobra 2, thank you so much for tuning in. Another Russian spammer. We might have hit the new record today. Thank you very much, Donno. I love it. And I know Marla was watching today. Thank you so much. G.A. Kane fan. I may have already shouted him out. Oh, man, there was a lot of people on the chat today. Marco, Mr. T's Culture. Thank you so much for tuning in. And that might be it. Oh, my guy, Adriano. I didn't see him in there. This is one of my good pals from the Italian soccer sphere. I don't know if he's still, he wrote this comment very early, so I apologize if I missed you. So glad to have drafted Jalen Waddle so I can keep him next season as my rookie keeper. That was a good move. Jalen Waddle is having an awesome year. G.A. Kane fan said no Canes. This was kind of a light day for Canes talk. We are going to do an episode this week, probably Thursday. Larry Bluestein and I, we're going to do a 5 Rings Canes episode. So I think that's about it for the shout outs. Huge thank you to everyone who tuned in. Oh, and yes, I do want, Manny reminded me in the live chat, I do want to let you people know, because you people, who are you calling you people? I want to let you friends know I will not be doing this show tomorrow because I have to watch my kid for most of the day, and I've got a doctor's appointment like right during the time I'd be doing the show. So I'm not doing the show tomorrow, but I am doing 5 rounds at night, 6 p.m. tomorrow night. We will be talking combat sports, Frank Zaffrey, James Walker, and I. So I will be on tomorrow. I just won't be on this show. So if you don't see us at 3 o'clock tomorrow, do not panic. No panic, no hysteria. We will be back for this show, Donno Daily, on Thursday. So no Donno Daily tomorrow. We do have 5 rounds tomorrow at 6. I hope you tune into that. And then Thursday and Friday, we will be back on Donno Daily. So thank you, Manny, for reminding me. I will talk to everyone again on tomorrow night and then Thursday right here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.